and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Purple Sector. First of all, sorry, we're a little late with this episode. My wife and I have been in the hospital with the birth of our third kid, so a little behind this week, but we still made time to record. Um, Exciting weekend. Canada sprint was exciting. I think the race topped it.
Sprint was awesome, and then quickly overshadowed by absolute banger.
Yes, yes. Um, 30 laps of absolute pushing by Mercedes. Absolute pushing on the
It's
edge.
unprecedented. I can't think of another fight, at least any time in the recent past, of two cars going at it the way that these guys went at it. Um, Sad to see it finish the way that it ended. My working theory is these guys were just pushing so damn hard that George's car crapped out. Um, couldn't handle the heat. Maybe hadn't tested it in these lower temps, but yeah, unfortunate to see that come to an end the way that it did. But
Yeah,
man, was it exciting when
yeah,
we
it
got
was
it.
very exciting. I think he nailed it. I think just pushing so hard. I mean, think about it. I mean, they even said on the commentary during the race, like this is qualifying lap after qualifying lap after qualifying lap on the softs, 30 laps, and both of them said after the race it would have kept going. Like they were going to fight.
Well, this is
I wish we got to see it. I'm not very often sad for George. I was sad for George on that one.
no, I mean, we take this back a couple of years, and we've had fights like this that lasted maybe 2 or 3 laps. But usually you would see an instance of, where George was locking up, right? He kept locking up. Kimmy went deep, went over the grass, and these guys go deep and they trade places. Usually that type of thing ends the fight. But these guys had the ability to keep going after one another. And I think they came after the race, and I forget who said it, but someone was saying, and it might have been Max, was
It was
the
Max and
strength
Lewis.
of the overtake mode, the boost mode, was significant around this track. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was Max and Lewis in the cool down room.
Yeah,
Was, Lewis would lose him, and then Max, because he was in a second, was able to get it back on the straights. And so that's what contributed to Kimmy and George being able to just go back at one another, even when there were mistakes. So, I think credit goes to the regs in this set. I don't think that, well, let me back that up. Mercedes is in their own class right now.
yes, yeah,
But I think the improvements that have been made to the regulations contributed here. And so I think that's another win for the changes they made.
definitely think it contributed. It'll be interesting when we go to Monaco. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm excited to see how these work on that type of track. It's a completely different story.
My working theory is Monaco is going to be its own animal. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Charles on the front row. So we'll
I
see.
feel like we're getting a snoozer or we're getting a battle fest. I'm hoping it's just battles, but we'll see.
We'll see. Smaller cars, we have no idea how this is going to work in Monaco. But the other big news: what the hell, McLaren? What are we doing?
Your
This
boys
is
messed up.
yet another strategy blunder. These guys can't figure out when to take a pit stop. They can't figure out what tires to be on. Um, I kind of have to eat it a little bit. In our last video, I talked about how McLaren was too reactive and that was putting them on the back foot. And here they are taking a gamble, massive gamble. They would have looked like absolute geniuses if this panned out. Um, but it didn't, and it bit them hard. Um,
Very, very hard. The back teams that do it, you can kind of understand because if it started like dumping rain or something, that's a massive opportunity for points. But with the pace I mean, they qualied well, they showed well in the sprint. All the top teams are on softs. Like you said, very bold. The track I know is wet, but not that wet. And regardless, unless they're expecting more rain, it seemed very bold. And then was it what the hell is their principal? Why can't I think of his name right
Stella.
now? Stella.
Andrea Stella.
I mean, he came out and still backed it in a quote saying, like, I would have liked to see if we didn't have the multiple restarts those first few
Yeah.
laps, which I think
Yeah.
is
Well, that was
still
my.
very bold, and I don't think it would have been that different.
I don't think because formation laps are slower, so maybe they got 3 or 4 more laps out of that. Um, they're going to get passed by the Mercs once those softs fire up anyway.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
it didn't make sense to me. Like, part of me likes the fact that they took a risk and a gamble because I think it would have taken something like that to get a win over the Mercedes here.
yes.
Um, but I think they threw away a podium in the process. So
100%. I mean, look at where Max and Lewis ended up distance to Kimi. It wasn't that significant. You have the front, well, Hadjar got a penalty. Like the front five basically were like 45 seconds ahead of the entire field. So like you have the front runners. Red Bull and Ferrari weren't that off, and then McLaren's up there with the Mercedes. So yeah, I definitely think a potential double podium or like a 2-4, like whatever. Oscar ran into some issues. I don't know with all the restarts why like they're almost like we can't change now, too stubborn. We saw the pace in Lando when he got going.
yeah,
Looked great. Looked like I mean, he probably had a chance for a podium, then that he had a pit again. But Oscar, before the race starts, complaining these are not the right tires, they're not the right tires. You had 3 chances to take him in and start from pit
yeah.
lane, which would have
I'm
worked.
surprised that they didn't bring him in after the first formation lap. Like that, it's hindsight is 2020, so it's really hard to
Absolutely.
come at it with like, well, you should have done this. But I think I'd like to think that if I was the one sitting on the pit wall, I would have just eaten my words then and there and say, okay, guys, come in. We're going to put you on the soft. You're going to start from the pit lane, but at least now you've got a fighting chance. Once they're going, like Lando's start, which by the way, like, is that his best start ever? I don't know.
I mean, I
But
think that's the one place the tires worked, and a good start
yeah,
from Lando.
yeah, exactly. But it's meaningless, right? Like everyone knew that was a false lead. It wasn't going to last. And so I think they probably would have been better off coming in at the end of either of those formation laps and putting the right tire on and just fighting from the back. At least then you had a chance. You know, you luck out with a safety car or something and you get in position. But knowing you're going to have to take that extra pit stop going into it, I think is probably
Just
a bad call.
eat it in the beginning. I was actually pretty disappointed by Piastri. I feel like a lot of the better drivers at one point or multiple points in their career overrule the team. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna complain about the tires that much, we have that many restarts. Hey, I'm coming in for softs. Once you pull into the pit lane, they're
Yeah.
gonna change your tires.
What
Like,
is it? What's it going to be? Is it going to be Sunny Haze? Right? He sits there and refuses to
yeah. Well,
leave
guess
until
what?
he
We did
gets the
3
tires he
restarts,
wants.
so you would have been
Yeah.
fine either way. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in the McLaren
Well,
strategy,
you
and
saw how pissed Oscar was, right? Like he got into the race, red mist descended, like goes into the side of Albon, has to pit for damage. Later finds out he's got a time penalty. He's
he's
got to pit
furious.
again. He wound up making 3 pit stops. Like Oscar's got to be livid. I can guarantee it wasn't him advocating for that. I saw some rumors that Lando was the one pushing for that. I don't know if there's validity to that, but I think it shows Zach Brown was not in the garage this weekend. He was at the Indy 500. That was his big thing. Part of me thinks his presence not being in the garage contributed to some chaos. We saw a little bit of that last year when Zach Brown wasn't in the garage. So I don't know, just a terrible weekend to be a McLaren fan. I was rocking my McLaren gear and it hurt. I felt judged when I went out in public with my McLaren shirt.
still
It was
gotta
just a
rock
bad
it
weekend.
though. Do we want to dive into the Mercedes fight a little bit? I mean,
Well, just some other big things before we go into that because there's a lot there. Great to see Max back on the podium.
it made me very happy. I'm sad he lost 2, but at least it was with Lewis.
Yeah. And is Lewis back? Question mark. Like I ruled this guy out last year. I was saying he should
both
retire.
did.
He came out and said, "I'm not retiring. Oh, by the way, I'm going to finish P2 and smoke my teammate." Like I don't know, man. He's got some juice in the tank after this one.
It's a bad look for Charles. If Lewis is back, that's great for Ferrari, and the Constructors' Championship gets a lot more exciting. Um, and he was happy. That's like the big thing you can see, and
Mhm.
what you hear from other commentators is, hey, Lewis is happy. He's racing. He seems like himself. Um, Still asking for more power, like nonstop. Um, and he might have had a little bit more of an extra chance, but Ferrari did Ferrari things, and even though they knew there was about to be at least a VSC, they let him
Mhm.
pass the pit lane when he would have had basically a free pit stop. So missed opportunity on Ferrari, not really Lewis. Um,
It's just
but
tradition, man. We
oh,
got to have a bad call in a good Ferrari
it's
race.
like
It's tradition.
I mean, like I said, they weren't that far off Kimmy. I'm not saying they would have been there, but it could have made it a little more interesting.
I
Um,
think they talked about this too. I think in the cool down room was they definitely have an advantage in the corners, which is strange because I think in the previous rig set their advantage was in the straights.
yeah, they
Um,
flopped it for sure.
Mercedes is by far the quickest car in a straight line. Um, but yeah, so he was down on power. Um, I don't know.
Well,
Is this just a Lewis track? Like, is this one of those examples? Like, this is also a George Russell track, and we'll get into that. But is this just a track that Lewis prefers, and maybe Charles not so much? We saw that last week or last race with
yeah,
Kimmy and George. Um, I think it's maybe that. I still tend to think that Charles is better than Lewis at this point in his career, but it's proving to be a circuit dependent question.
circuit dependent, and I don't know if this reg set has favored Charles too much yet. I don't. I
No, when
don't
they
know.
make the change, I think something lit in Charles too, but we'll see. Well, next race is Monaco. That's his home race. Um, he's gonna wake his head up and walk downstairs in his building, hop in the car, and freaking send it. So I
Walking his
am super
slippers
excited
to the
about Monaco
racetrack.
qualifying.
Uh, Definitely makes you wonder though who's performing better at Ferrari right now. So I think Monaco will help, but I think the next couple races will tell us. Hopefully McLaren brings their A game. Be great to see like a top four team like just battle at Monaco. Quali will be
Rooting for
interesting.
a Lando or a Leclerc podium or starting.
Pole position.
Start, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
this is the one
there's a
track where I
few
think it's
names you could
possible
throw
right
there.
now. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna count out my boy at Monaco. Take a quali.
No. I don't know if Max has the car. I don't
We
know if
all
he's on
know
the
what Max
podium
could do.
without.
We all know what Max could do. I'm not saying he has the car, but one lap he could do it.
Anything can happen. It's Monaco.
Unlikely, but
Should we dive into this rumble at Mercedes?
yeah, let's do it.
I
Let's
want to
touch on the
start
sprint
at the
really.
sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that turn one, Kimi tries to go around the outside. George slams the door. Toto comes out after the fact. That one of their rules of racing is what would Max do, which I
yeah.
think is hilarious. But it's our first opportunity this season to talk about that apex rule. You've already heard my takes on this when we had our 2024 Max Lando fight. Um, what do you think? Is that clean racing? Is that the way the rules should be? Was it
I
fair in
think
this instance?
the apex rule pisses me off because you can literally throw your car into the apex, not making the turn. Which Max Fanboy, he has done that
He
dozens
uses
of
that rule
times.
to its fullest
Which he's
extent.
not the only one. Everyone uses it when it applies.
Mm-hmm.
George, um, maybe not Lewis. He's a little more like traditional, but Charles has 100% just yeeted his car through a corner. Um, I don't love it. It's in the rules, so I mean, if you get ahead, but I think the lesson Kimi is learning there is a more veteran driver is going to shut that down. Like you don't
Yeah.
have the space, and I think this sprint was a big learning lesson from Kimi, especially from a teammate
Mm-hmm.
of like, hey, he's not just going to let me buy because I can stick the outside and make it to the apex. And the team's not going to back me because I'm going to like bitch on the radio about it. They're going to say race, which respect to Toto, he's letting them race. And I
Hmm.
think the benefit of that is, hey, I have two really good drivers. We have a really good car. Now is the time to find the alpha, right? This is
Where
like
have I heard this
go,
before?
going back to Lewis and Rosberg over here. But I mean, it's,
Well, I'm also thinking Silver Arrow's rules, right? Is this
oh
the
yeah,
new Papaya rules?
yeah, but these are way cooler.
I take offense to that.
I mean,
Um,
tell me I'm wrong. Papaya never had a like defined rule. Toto's over here like, what would Max do? Max would freaking slam the door shut every time and take a
but
penalty.
I think Papaya rules got bad flack because is this not the exact same thing? Like, is Toto going to say that George is his number one driver, that Kimmy's his number one driver? He's not going to use the words that Zach Brown uses, but I think they're kind of in a similar boat. Two number one drivers, we're going to let them race as long as the racing's clean.
But
I don't know if it'll get to the level of Papaya rules, fair is fair, Lando DNF, so Oscar has to DNF. Like,
I
that's
think
not
that
going to
the
happen. But
difference with this though is like Zach Brown is very open with the like, oh, I have two number one drivers. Like we're gonna let them figure it out or whatever. Where Toto is more, um, they're more reserved. They don't share as much info. So it's like
mhm.
we're letting him fight. He doesn't say, oh, I have two number one drivers. It's more of like, hey, we have the car. Don't touch, which they did in both races. But you don't
I
hear
think it's just
bitching
a
on the
PR
radio when
thing.
they're
Like,
an inch off. When Kimmy cuts the inside of the corner after George shut the door on him. So I mean, yeah, it's a great PR thing. I mean, look, it's a
he
view
just I
grabber.
think you're exactly right. I think he just isn't gonna say what Zach Brown says, but it is for me like a very similar situation. They're just not gonna be as open about it. So I
No,
like that. But
and
back to the Apex rule. I think on one hand, I don't like it because it's abused. And in certain situations, it's not clear, particularly to fans and observers of the race, right? Um, but I also think if you take that rule away and you say you always have to leave room, um, then that kind of goes against like racecraft and quality and like the purism of the sport, right? So like I feel like there needs to be a rule. Whether the Apex version of this rule is the rule, I don't know. If they're going to continue this, then I think one suggestion I would have is like, can we get a mark or something on the track that defines what the apex is? And even that gets tricky because depending on what line you're taking, are you going to late apex? Are you going to early apex?
and
Like,
then you still have an
where is the
apex rule.
apex? And then how does that get interpreted, right? Because different angles, it just gets so muddy and it's unclear. And I think that's why people dislike this rule: is where is the apex and who was ahead?
See, if I had to like vote to keep it or take it away, I would take it away. I mean, you look at we talk about like endurance racing and stuff like that. And I mean, they throw bows, they go in corners, they drive off track. Like, not saying F1 needs to drive through the grass to like beat the corner. Like, we have defined rules about taking advantage and everything. I think if you take that out and then like how these racers are bred basically from childhood, they know how to race on track. Take out the apex rule, let them figure it out. Take it out for a season, see what happens. Worst thing that's going to happen is, oh, that didn't work. Take it, bring it back to next season, or bring it back halfway through the season. I mean, they grew up racing without an apex rule, and they were all very successful. They know how to leave enough room for the guy to be on track still. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Mercedes fighting with an apex rule. They're teammates. They're not leaving room. They have to bail. One cooks it, goes wide. Kimmy's trying to like the kid's got like he's got a sack on him. He tries to stick everything. I love it. Um, I don't like it. It's just like the bitch rule. It's like whatever, hey, I'm gonna send it on the apex so I could bitch on the radio and try to get them penalized for it. That's all it is.
Yeah, I guess my initial hesitation was like it would just result in more bitching, but I also think we get an equivalent amount of bitching right now. Like he didn't leave room.
I
So
I honestly think we'd get less. I think you get some more like wheel to wheel racing, and instead of the bitching, it'd be like, oh, Charles and Max bumped wheels on this corner because Max didn't give enough room. Well, the next corner, Charles is going to dish it back out because instead of a right-hander, it's a left-hander now. So I think you're
Yeah.
just going to get more of like the racecraft or people getting creative of like, oh, he's going to shut that down on me every time. I have to try it somewhere else. I just think you get. They're still going to complain on the radio. That's part of F1, but it's not going to be a rule thing. It's going to be like, hey, we'll figure it out. Focus on racing.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Well, what do you think about the defining the apex, like with a marker on the track or some type of visual indicator so that we can understand where that is? Or you
I
just
think
like
you
clean
nailed
cut
it.
like
I
no.
just clean cut. I think if you try to like redefine it, it's going to be the same problem because, like you said, there's different
Yeah.
angles, and depending on your position and track, like if you're trying to overtake, you take funky lines. If you're in the lead and not necessarily needing to heavy defend that corner, you're going to take a normal racing line. So, if you're taking the normal racing line, which is a little bit wider, and I decide to dive bomb and beat you to the dot on the track, I'm just going to get on the radio and be like, I had the apex. I got to the
Yeah.
line.
You're right. 100%.
Same thing.
Yeah. That's, if you put a rule, someone's going to learn how to twist that rule
This
into an
this is
advantage.
like
And
when we
so
spent like
just
2 hours
yeah.
trying to fix the Monaco that they tried to fix last year
Oh,
to
we get to
make
do
the
that again this year.
yeah
Aren't you so excited? How
yeah
to
so we
refix Monaco?
there's no solution by the way. Uh, Apex we dove into.
Everyone has to race go-karts. Um, is this Kimmy's championship to lose, man? Is it gone? I'm looking at the point totals here. 43 points back. That is a greater gap than Lando had to overcome last year. Um, is George out of it?
I kind of think he is. So there's a lot of factors here. The biggest one is Kimmy on this race. He's fuming from the sprint. He's emotional. He's 19. I'd say he's handling pressure very well for how old he is and how long he's been in F1. Look at the pressure he just took from George for 30 laps. 30 laps of just pure fighting. Like, dude was sniffing his tailpipe the whole time. Had a couple passes, got repassed. You did not hear him on the radio this time. He said, all right, this is how we're playing. I learned in the sprint. I'm going to be a big dog now. Cool. Goes out there. Georgia's at a disadvantage. Other cars are catching them. Monaco officially, Merc does not have their engine testing loophole. So there goes whatever tenth they got from that. So let's level the playing field a little bit more. George isn't only going to be fighting Kimi. I think McLaren's close enough that they're already in the fight. Red Bull and Ferrari have gotten better. George has no room for error already with Kimi. So then you throw in the other factors of like, okay, I'm behind Kimi, but okay, Lewis or Charles are right there, or both of them.
Yeah,
It's an opportunity situation. It's like
Charles
Lando in
is
the sprint.
13 points back. There's only 13 points.
Yeah, if
So
if Charles has a good finish and George has a DNF again, I think
yeah,
this is Kimi's championship at this point.
I think it is Kimmy's to lose. I still, nothing's over till the fat lady sings, right? Kimmy could crumble. We saw what happened to Oscar last year, but at this point, I think it's Kimmy's to lose.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you don't look at the last 2 years of drivers' championship, right? Like 2 years ago, I don't think anyone thought Max was going to win that. Anyone. Last year, no one thought it was going to go as close as it did. Definitely Oscar's to lose the way he started the year, but the last 2 years proved that just because you have a big lead doesn't mean Kimi could crumble. I just said he's great under pressure. Knock on wood, he stays like that. Um, but he could have a Piastri type season. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, he crumbles mid-season, and you're like, what the heck is happening?
Do you think George has any kind of potential to pull a Verstappen level comeback here?
No.
No.
I think with George's history of like random chokes on like crucial moments of races and the amount of immense pressure he's under now, I don't think he could do it. I
That's
think
fair.
Kimi's too good.
Kimmy is showing what type of potential. He's showing why Toto took this gamble on him.
Toto made a
Like
freaking move with that kid, dude.
what? Yeah, he meant it when he said, "I am never missing out on a driver the way that I missed out on Max ever again." And everyone looked at him like he was crazy when he put Kimi in the car in Monza, and Kimi puts it in the wall immediately, right? And we're all like, "Oh no, what are we in for?" And here we are. I don't know, man. That big
It,
brain from Toto.
it's big brain and uh, just the imagery of seeing Kimmy on a podium in between Max and Lewis, and then getting lifted onto, I don't know if it was it wasn't his engineer, but like one of the Merc guys and Lewis's shoulders is just like, is he the next coming of the great, great driver F1? Like, is he next?
I think so. We might look back on this race and be like, wow, we had three champions on the podium here, and this was a race of like the recent, the new, and the old. Um, Too bad Alonso didn't finish fourth or something.
Dude, hey, for a couple laps, anyone that watched the race, he was in the points. He
He
got
was. I
there.
got so excited,
It
and
was
then the next thing I knew, he was pulling into the garage.
a
So
DNF.
par is the course.
I
I want to talk more about George though. Is George the next Nico Rosberg here? I did a little bit of homework here. They both started at Williams. They both joined Mercedes with, at the time, a seven-time world champ, Lewis for George and Michael Schumacher for Nico. Um, they finally get a competitive car and a new regulation set, only to be outdone by a second-year teammate, and they win the world championship.
it's currently, I'd say that's about as accurate as it could be to history repeating itself.
That still means that George has the potential to be a world champion. Nico won it one time, and he's like, "Peace, I'm out. I'm not doing that again."
Yeah, I mean, George is a great driver, so I think just this season, I think Kimi has too big of an edge now with the other cars get closing in. Sorry. Yeah, next Nico Rosberg, I guess.
It was just pretty entertaining to see the parallels of that. It's kind of scary.
It's actually crazy. That's like some of the parallels Kimi has with Senna. Kind of
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. Well, we should
It's,
get into that in the
it's
next one.
super accurate. Yeah, I won't dive into that. I did have a point on Kimi, but it doesn't matter anymore because I can't remember. Oh, the
Um,
only other thing, because I know I'm gonna end up talking forever. Um, I wish we could go to a different universe and watch that race with George, no DNF.
oh, that would have been crazy. Like, how you think it goes the entire race?
They both said it was going the whole way.
I
I
think
mean, the way I what? Go
the
ahead.
only thing that would have ended that was a pit stop strategy. Like I was waiting for one of them to undercut the other, but I think they were both hanging it out there, waiting for a safety car. But there was a serious opportunity there for, and I think it was Kimmy at the time when he was behind, and he was on George's butt to just get the pit
Well,
in and
we're
undercut.
on the same mindset. There's like late 20s in the laps, and I'm like, Kimmy just needs to call for a pit stop coming around the last corner and
Hmm.
just make them pit him to gain an advantage, and then George would have to cover on the next one, and then if Mercedes does a standard pit stop for them, they'd still be on each other's butt.
Yeah,
Um, but well, I guess we'll
I
never know.
think what could have been,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. What's your ranking? You think this was better than Miami?
Yes. 100%.
I
The
think
30
I
laps
think
is
so
too.
too.
I mean, you could have ended the race at 30 laps, and I would have been satisfied.
Yep, yep, I agree.
Everything. I mean, there. I texted you while I was watching it, going down the back straight before the chicane, going into the wall of champions. They had the front view of the camera, and they both tried to outbrake each other, and they were like perfectly in sync. Front wings closed at the same time, and I just like had the biggest grin on my face. I'm like, this is crazy that they're that locked in. It was just fun. That's what F1 should be. I'm okay with the rest of the race being semi snoozer, and then you have Max Lewis fighting. But that 30 laps is better
Yeah,
than anything we really got last season, to be honest.
yeah, I agree. I think that Max Lewis fight at the end of the race definitely made it less of a snoozer. Otherwise, it would have been kind of 50-50, but it was nice to kind of bookend it with some excitement. So we will see what Monaco can deliver.
Yeah, I'm excited for Monaco. Last year sucked, so I just hope we get some fighting.
It was the best Monaco race ever.
That was awful. I was like, I shouldn't even finish watching that race. It's a great strategy that someone came up with, I will say, how to do that. Terrible to watch.
No, but yeah, we'll put our tinfoil hats on and come up with a way to fix it again, and we'll make a whole episode about that. So, but I think the second stop is no longer a thing. They're gonna just run it and see how it works in these new rig sets. We've got smaller cars, a little bit more nimble. Definitely still not wide enough for them to be passing like
No,
crazy, but
no.
I don't know. Hopefully, we get some liveliness. Hopefully, we don't get all of the bogged down, held up pit stop shenanigans. But I don't know. We're gonna get something. Someone's gonna pull something out of their butt and find a way to ruin it.
Alonso in the points.
That would be nuts.
Uh, all right. Well, we'll end it there, or we'll keep ranting forever. But we'll catch you guys next time on Purple Sector.